What I'm showing you today is this lovely tomato. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take that little green piece out of the top. Now, a very important point if ever you're using vegetables, and one that a lot of people forget. They might look clean when they come out of those lovely packets in the supermarket, but sometimes there might just be a few little pesticides or even a little bit of dirt on that tomato. So it's very important that we wash all our vegetables. Not only will it clean them, but that little bit of water will bring them back to life a little bit. So what I'm going to teach you now is how to peel a tomato. This is particularly useful if you're making a nice sauce and you don't want those little stringy bits that the skin would leave. So the first thing you do is you run your knife all the way around that pit, and we're going to get that out of there first. So it's just basically using a small knife and working your way around that, and that'll pop out quite easily. Now the next step is we're going to flip the tomato over to the other side, and we'll just score it like that with a nice X. For the next step, what we need is two things. I've got a lovely pot of boiling water on here, boiling really furiously. I also have a nice large amount of water with ice in there. Now we're going to use that to cool the tomato down really quickly. You want a large volume of water and a lot of ice. Now as soon as you have these two things in place, there's one last thing you need to do, and that's place a nice generous amount of salt into that water. And once that starts boiling, which it is now, we're going to very quickly drop our tomatoes in there for about 12 seconds. What that's doing is the heat in there is allowing the skin to come off, but it has to be very quick, and we want to cool it down again in that water. That's why we've got the ice. So they've been in there for about 10 seconds, another 2 seconds, and out they come and straight into that water. And we'll take our tomato out, and you'll be able to see immediately the crosses there. If I just use my knife, that skin will come off in one easy motion. Now this might seem to be a lot of effort, but the whole process hasn't taken me more than 1 minute. So off comes that last piece of skin, and that's how you peel a tomato. Now the next quick simple tip that I have for you is this broccoli here. A lot of times people cook broccoli or any green vegetable and it'll end up brown, it'll end up insipid. That's not what we want. We want to cook it so that it's just got a little bite in it, it's still bright green, and it holds all those nutrients. So I'll show you how to do that now. Over here I still have some nice boiling water. I've got the salt in there already, and I'm just going to add the tiniest little sprinkle of baking soda. That's going to help us to really keep this broccoli green. Very important that that water is boiling as fast as you can physically get it to boil. Now I would guess that broccoli would take about 1 minute to 1.5 minutes. It really is that quick. There's no point starting it off in slow water, putting a lid on it, anything like that. This is the only way to cook broccoli. You'll keep the nutrients in there, because the longer you cook vegetables, the more nutrients you use. You'll keep it beautiful and green, and it'll be full of flavour. So you can see that that water is really coming to the boil, and that's been in there for about 1 minute. Another 20 seconds. I still have the water here that I used for my tomatoes with plenty of ice in it. Now I'm using this broccoli later, so that's why I want to cool it down. So in it goes, and this is perfect if you're making any sort of dish and you want to add the broccoli at the last minute. You'll just put it in the water, and if you're making a little stir fry or a sauce, you drop that beautiful bright green broccoli in, and look at that. That's cooked broccoli, and that's the way it should look. Now the next thing that I'm going to show you is two different ways of cutting a carrot. I'm using a carrot, but that's only for demonstration purposes. I could just as easily be using a courgette, a mouli, anything like that. So the first thing we do is we take the ends off. Now the next thing that we're going to do, and not many people do this, we're going to wash it. So under cold water, gets rid of any of that excess dirt, and we're going to peel it straight down it like that while it's on the chopping board. You don't need to be waving it up in the air or anything like this. Just keep it nice and flat, and you won't waste any of that beautiful carrot. Another thing that not many people do, we're actually going to wash it again. So I'm going to show you two different cuts. A lot of recipes might call for little batons, julienne, and that's the first one that I'm going to show you. So we're going to cut the carrot in half. We're going to place it on the board flat so that it can't move around, and using our small office knife, we're going to get some nice long strips. So you can really take your time with this, and the important thing is that carrot is not going to go anywhere because it's got a lovely flat surface. The biggest danger with cutting anything is that if I cut that, for example, like that, where it can roll around, the knife could go through my hand. When we've got it like this, the carrot has absolutely nowhere to go. So now that we have our nice long strips, we're going to lay them on top of each other, and we're going to swap knives. There's different knives for different jobs. That's very important. Whenever you have to chop anything, we use a nice chopping knife. Now the most important thing is you'll see many chefs chopping with this action. To achieve that, you want to keep the point of the knife on the board at all times. If that point stays there, we'll have no problem chopping. So nice and slow, you get your lovely big long strips that'll light up any stir fry or any nice salad. So that's how you get a beautiful julienne of carrot. Now the next one that I want to show you is how to get a rough dice. A lot of recipes call for a rough dice. So again, we're going to switch knives back to our office knife, and we're going to go once down the carrot, twice down the carrot, and we got 3 separate bits. Now we'll just go straight down the middle, straight down the middle, straight down the middle. Very simple. And then you turn them on their side, and using the chopping knife again, we go through them like that. So there you end up with that perfect